I'll let you introduce yourself because they really should know. Louis and I first met when I was on his podcast, Everyone Hates Marketers. Has anyone here listened to that podcast? There you go. Okay, so I hand it over to him. Introduce yourself. You do too many things.
I won't. I won't introduce myself. Let's ask everyone there near the bar. Tom, I see you. Come here. Let's go. Okay, it's the last talk of the day, so. I'm sorry?
They're closing deals already.
Oh, yeah. I see. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever had a colonoscopy. Yeah, that I knew. Yeah. Come on. Who else? Yeah? Don't be ashamed. Wait for it. You'll see. Anyone in the back there at the bar, have you ever had a colonoscopy? Yeah? Have you? No, sorry, I wasn't pointing you out. In particular. I had my first one last year. And that's an actual picture taken by the nurse. Why did I have a colonoscopy? Because I had those weird changes in my bowel, pain in my left side that would come and go, and these kind of very, weird changes. Like, I'm not going to go into crazy detail. I'm already going to share a lot of detail. But I knew I had to do something. So colonoscopy, came in, joked with the doctor, the nurses, everyone was in good spirit, having fun. I was sedated, but I wasn't asleep. And I could see the screen. And the camera that they put inside your backside is, it gives this weird zoomed out view, and so it looks way bigger than it actually is. So I was watching the screen, talking, everyone's in good mood. And after 2 minutes, I saw this bloody blob right in front of me. And I knew what it was, not by the shape of it or anything. I knew what it was by the mood that had changed in the room entirely. Silence. Everyone was very serious straight away. And I was like, oh, fuck, cancer. Tumor. So yeah, that was a tumor. And I tell you, that's exactly where it was. So that's the actual drawing of my surgeon. The big black one is exactly where my tumor was, at the entrance of the sigmoid colon. Just there. I didn't know what sigmoid was, but now I'm fucking feel smart about it. So yes, cancer at 36. So that was hard. Thankfully, everyone took it seriously. And I think I had surgery 4 weeks after diagnosis. They removed 10 centimeters of my colon. And that was me the day of the surgery. I was high as a kite there, I remember. It was fun. Opioids are great when they are given in hospitals. You know, you feel safe. Anyway, good times. And that's me with a patch of blood there. Like I had a tube going there to the site of the surgery that was draining blood, and it was horrible, but I was walking. So I got out 3 days after, got to spend time with my daughter again, and this is where she cosplays as Daddy with her scars. It always triggers me, this picture, because it's a memory of what matters, really, and just being with my family and stuff during those times. I didn't know at the time, but we have hundreds of lymph nodes in our digestive system. and they removed 54 of lymph nodes around the site of the surgery because that's where the cancer would spread after. And they checked every single one of those 54 lymph nodes, and there was no spread of cancer. So that's good news. And I can also tell you that today, I got a CT scan a couple of months ago after surgery, after doing a bit of chemo through like a tablet, that I'm cancer-free. Thank you. And that's not really down to me, that's down to the amazing medical team. Now, you're probably wondering, what the fuck are you talking about cancer? This is marketing. Come on, give us the growth hacks. They are coming. In fact, my book, which you were all supposed to have one, we'll talk about that later. UPS just fucked it up. Anyway, was published a week after my surgery. It wasn't the plan, but anyway. So yes, as I said, you're probably wondering, what are you talking about all of this? Well, you see, here's the connection. When I faced this diagnosis, I didn't have this like Hollywood moment where I was like, let me travel to Guatemala and leave my wife and take some drugs and go crazy. Instead, I just felt like who I was with, the place I was living in, the work I was doing day to day was exactly where I wanted to be. I didn't have this like come to Jesus moment. I had my foundations. I had my pillars. I had my stuff that I knew I could lean on, my friends, my family. I felt so good. So this is the connection. And yes, only a marketer would connect bowel cancer with marketing, but hey, gotta do what you're gonna do. So the connection is, what I want to share with you today are the foundations, the principles that I have to stand out in crowded markets now, in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 50 years' time, things that will always work, no matter what context you're in, things that you can lean on, science-backed, that, yes, you can really lean on as your foundation. So I'm going to give you a bunch. There might be some that you disagree with, some that you agree with. That's fine. Those are just my view of the world. You can have different stuff. But let me go through them, and then I'll take questions, right? Obviously. And I might have a couple of gifts for people who ask good questions in my pocket, because I don't wear a chicken necklace every day, by the way. That's, if you thought that was my style, you were mistaken. Okay, first one, there are no marketing secrets. Anyone trying to sell you to the idea that there are things about marketing that you don't know that they know are selling bullshit. They're lying to you. They're trying to sell something that they are not very proud of. So don't believe anyone saying that there are secrets you don't know, please. That's it. That's the one. That's the first one. Yay! People at the bar not listening. Woo! Anyone working at HubSpot here? Yes? Yeah? No? No one? Okay, I thought someone was nodding. Okay, good. Because please stop letting those big companies dictate the way you need to think or the way you need to prioritize your work. I have an example, actually. That's why I couldn't send the slide earlier than yesterday. Latest example of this, loop marketing. HubSpot desperate to become relevant again after stumbling upon inbound marketing as an incredible concept. Pushing loop marketing now, right? Loop marketing combines the efficiency of AI with your greatest asset, you. When you say it like this, a bit like the L'Oreal ads, it makes all the sense in the world. So they are literally just repackaging things and foundational stuff that this guy works for HubSpot, clearly. Sorry. They're repackaging things, foundations that will always be there, and trying to push it down your throat to make you believe that you're missing something out. You're not. there are foundations that will always be there. So try to protect yourself mentally, because it's easy to be fed stuff through your LinkedIn feeds and whatever, that things are changing, that there are secrets, that maybe you should adopt this thing. Be careful with it. You need to protect yourself from all of this, especially as marketers who are overexposed to all of this stuff. At least I try to do it. We were having a discussion there earlier about the fact that I block people on LinkedIn every day, literally. Not because I can't stand disagreements, but just because to protect my mental health. If I see something that annoys me, I try not to get too annoyed every day, because I already get, my average annoyance rating is quite high. So I just block, not because I don't like them, I just don't want to hear from them anymore. That's it. And you should do too. You should absolutely monitor your feed, block people out, clean it out, because what comes into your brain, whether you like it or not, is going to affect your thoughts, going to affect what you do day to day. So be very careful about what you pay attention to. This is such a precious thing. Your brain is a precious, precious thing that you can, and if you feed it the right thing, you can really have more fun. So to that point, anyone's telling you that marketing is changing is also lying. Marketing is not changing. Tactics, tools are changing, but there are foundations there that you can lean on. The easiest one to talk about is this one. And I'm not making it up, it's not mine. I'm leaning and standing on the shoulders of giants. Marketing is roughly a third diagnosis, a third strategy, and a third execution, right? Inside execution, there is the traditional 4 Ps, one of them being promotion. And we tend to just focus on that part. So that's around 8% of marketing, if you apply the percentage. The rest, 92%, is understanding what's going on. Market orientation, market research, whatever you want to call it. Strategy is choosing what not to do more than what to do. And execution is getting it done. Again, it might look extremely simplistic. I might be oversimplifying the discipline, but it's not. It's genuinely what it is. To avoid being overwhelmed, to avoid feeling like we are getting lost, I always go back to that. I spent the majority of my early career in marketing trying to control things, trying to make things pretty, trying to put things into boxes and pretty little spreadsheets and dashboards. Burning out doing it multiple times. And then I realized, you know what? Fuck it. Marketing is messy. And it's kind of meant to be messy. We're dealing with people who are very weird. We are incredibly weird for some of us. And trying to control everything to the point of, science, I think is the wrong approach. You need to embrace the fact that, things will happen that you have no control over. Things will happen that will surprise you. People will do crazy shit you don't understand. There'll be things happening globally that you don't know, that you just didn't know would happen. And that's okay. So focus on the things you can control and accept the other stuff that you just can't control. And that's okay. Does it make sense so far? No one will say no, obviously, but hey. So I'm going to get a bit more tactical now, because I know those are big principles. So let me try to get one level down in terms of the principles that I use day to day. One of the simplest things to do for the market research part or diagnosis or whatever you want to call it is getting information from folks who have recently invested time, money, and or effort in solving the problem that you're solving or buying the solutions that you're selling. The reason why you want to talk to those people and those people only is because they have recent recollection of what they've actually done. One of the worst things you can do is send surveys and do customer interviews or mine data from folks who might be someday buy from you or a competitor. That's the worst thing you can do. We can't predict the future as humans. We lie to be liked. We lie to be loved. We lie to fit in. So do not trust a single thing people will tell you about what they might do in the future. You can only try to get data from recent purchase behavior. That's one of the fastest way to get incredibly good data. And let me get even more practical here. Those are the 6 things, the only 6 things you need to know from that group. Once you have those 6 questions answered properly, you can literally answer all of the other questions that marketing that you'd have, because they are at the foundation of it. So what is the thing that those people want to accomplish? What other solutions have they used or trying to use? What problems are they trying to solve? What's relevant to the story in terms of who they are? What is the thing that you sell? And what specific events compel them to act? That trigger one is one of the hardest questions to answer. Once you know that, you understand what makes people act, it becomes quite easier. But that's what market orientation is, right? And if you are able to answer confidently those questions with a good level of specificity, meaning you go into detail, you're able to really know that means you can be confident about the next stage, because once you have that, things become easier. Yeah? This guy is nodding. Thank you. It's nearly over, promise you. The drinks are coming. Just stay with me. Okay, people care about one thing, themselves. And they are irrational, yes. I love when people say, I actually believe that I'm a very rational person. And I'm like, just look at what they're wearing and ask them, why did you buy those glasses? And why do you drive this car? And then you just go back to irrationality all over. So it's easy for us to think, oh yeah, we're rational people, we make very conscious choice all the time, blah, 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 blah. When you break down why people have bought stuff, the things they've bought, the things they've done recently, when you look at the facts, everyone is irrational. Every single one of us do things that make no sense. If we were rational, makeup wouldn't exist, yachts wouldn't exist, the way we were dressed would be all the same. There's so many things that wouldn't exist. So let's just move on from that. We are all irrational. And again, to be more tactical, I'm going to give you 10 different irrational things, categories that you could look into of what make people buy. Avoiding feeling like a loser, avoiding loneliness, craving approval, seeking meaning, controlling the chaos. That's why as marketers we want to do that a lot. So the first 5. One of my favorites, avoiding overwhelming choices, seeking fun, avoiding boredom, seeking recognition, reducing risk, which is a big one in B2B. Again, we're not selling the best option, we're selling the least risky option. And seeking superiority. I can guarantee, if I ask one of you what you're selling, let's say for work, I can find one of them pretty quickly at the reason why they buy. What do you do for work?
I build a SaaS solution that retains revenue for customers.
And who do you sell to mostly?
CROs and CPOs.
And so what makes them buy this churn solution from you?
I thought it was the retained revenue. I'm learning it is not looking bad in front of their boss or not taking risks with like riskier retention tactics that might not work.
That's a good answer. I don't even have to find the answer for you. Great. So yeah, those problems that you mentioned, like avoiding losing money and all of that, I would classify them to be rational stuff that we do. Saving time, making money, all of that stuff are important, yes. But you will always find those irrational stuff that feel way more sticky and spicy. And you don't have to call them out openly. You don't have to say, hey, you want to keep up with your colleagues today. But you don't have to call them out. But if you're aware of those things, you will figure out ways to package things that makes way more sense. Another one. That's one of the most powerful things I've learned the hard way. give customers what they think they need and then giving them what they actually need. And that's tough for some of us. Are you frowning? Yeah, I caught you. She is frowning. Yeah, that's your thinking face. Okay, little story. That was me 12 years ago. I was desperate to become a marketing consultant. So I went to Marks& Spencer and bought a three-piece suit. And I paid this photographer 150 euro to take those weird pictures of me at on the quays in Dublin. And I was trying to sell conversion rate optimization services, so CRO, in Dublin, to small businesses. And I remember how hard it was to first explain what it was, 2, convince them to buy, 2, and 3, stay with me for more than like a month. It was so hard. It felt like swimming against the current. And I felt like I was the worst salesperson in the history of sales. And then it's only years after that I realized I was trying to educate my market. I was trying to make them believe something they didn't care about, or make them care about something they didn't care about. Those businesses cared about one thing, and they all told me it. They wanted more customers, more traffic. What I should have done, I should have sold social media services. Facebook ads in particular was very sexy back then. And then optimize the traffic, but without even telling them, because they couldn't care less. But I thought I was smarter than I was. I thought I could do this. I was the only one doing it, and I felt so smart to be able to say I'm the only one offering those services in Dublin. Turned out I was just the stupidest, because, yeah, there was no demand for it. And so, again, this concept of giving people what they think they need first is so important. You need to meet people where they are currently at, not where you think they should be, not trying to educate them. You're going to burn out doing so, guarantee it. The easiest path is kind of the Trojan horse thing, right? You first enter by giving them what they need, what they think they need. In that case, social media, Facebook ads, and then you move on to what they actually need, which is actually optimizing the thing. Does it make sense? Yeah. Hold on. We're going to take a question because I feel you have something to say.
No, but basically with what you're explaining, you would still have to sell them what they need first. Like it would still have to be a part of your product or your service, and then what they need should be an add-on, right? Because like you still have to give them what you promise.
Yeah, so you don't make shit up, basically. Yeah. So it needs to fit. It needs to be somewhat related, obviously. But you kind of need to let go of the emotional attachment that you might have to the initial idea or the initial product idea that you have, to think about, okay, what do they actually need, and find a connection between the two. But you don't want to go too far either between the two. You don't want to go so far that it has nothing to do with what you currently do. Does it make sense? That's a good question. Thank you. Another thing to complain about. I hate the term content marketing or content creation, because it makes us feel like this is the start, right? Let's find ideas for content. Let's create content. That's not the start, that's the end. My advice here is, instead of thinking about creating content, which I think forces us to think about it the wrong way, where we forget stuff, we just feel like we are stuck in a box. Focus on doing cool shit, whatever that means for you. It could be meeting customers where they are. It could be having fun with your team. It could be learning something cool that you want to share with people. But if you do cool shit, you will have content to create around it. An example, recently, I invited 3 marketing business owners to a cottage near where I live in Dublin. And for 2 days straight, I helped them out on their positioning, their messaging, their branding, helping them out because they were feeling stuck and unclear. And I hired a videographer to record everything. I used to do that without the cameras. I did workshop before and all of that, and I knew it was interesting. So I was like, okay, let me create content out of that thing that I always do anyway, and let's package it in a way that will be fun. So next month, we're going to try that on YouTube, create a series around it, see how it works, see how it looks like. But that's what I mean by first, what are the shit that you can do that are cool for you, interesting. Don't get to hang up on cool or whatever that means. Just whatever you're currently doing, internally, externally, whatever fun thing you're currently doing, find ways to document that, and don't start with the end in mind. This one is also interesting, quite tactical, you'll see. Broadcast your bat signal. And by the way, you won't believe it, but I drew that myself. Seriously, thank you. Now, can we clap actually? Hold on, let's just wake you up a bit. I actually did. So, a lot of people would say, you know, you need to have a point of view on LinkedIn. You need to have an opinion and whatever. But it's not about being controversial for the sake of being controversial. What you want is to have a point of view that is there to show your people, your group of people, that you're there to serve them, to help them out. It needs to be connected somewhat to who you serve. It needs to be connected to the reason why you're doing what you're doing. It's not like, let me have a fucking opinion on something that has nothing to do with what you do for work. For example, all of those opinions that I'm shared so far, it's not because I like to complain, I do, but it's also because I know that those things are helpful to you. And I'm not just sharing random opinions for the sake of sharing random opinions. So when you say, you know, when people say you need to have a narrative, a point of view, or whatever, that's not exactly true. What you need is like send a bad signal and show to your customers that you're here for them. That's kind of the main reason why you need to do this. And that connects with this. It's not too long after. I'm nearly done, I promise, because I can see a few yawns and all. Whew. Yeah, it's a long day, huh? Okay. So another thing people struggle with content in general and point of views is that they think they need to share and find ideas for 1,000 different things, right? Oh, we've already talked about that. We can't share that anymore. Let's talk about something else. And they get absolutely burnt out because they're like, we have nothing else to say. We have run out of ideas. What are we going to do? What are we going to say? What are we going to write in our newsletter? What are we going to say in our podcast? So instead, find 1,000 different ways to say one thing. And that's so powerful to share. So let me give you an example. I have a little framework that I call the CHIPS framework to build a point of view. It's fairly simple. It's like, what is the thing that people tend to believe? What that's to happen as a result? What is the actual impact of this happening? What is the proof? How do you know that this happens? And what is your solution? That's roughly how to structure a point of view. Not externally, not on a blog post, but just for you internally as a guideline. So let's take an example, yeah? Let's say the one I shared with you earlier, stop being a sucker for corporate fear-mongering and loop marketing from HubSpot and all of that, right? So marketers chase every revolutionary new framework that promises to save them from obsolescence. Okay. What happens as a result? Well, they abandon those fundamentals for shiny objects sold by billion-dollar companies. What's the impact? Well, the audience wastes time on 16% solutions, so like the 16% of the third that I shared earlier, neglecting the first two parts, diagnosis and strategy. What's the proof? Well, there's scientific proof around the way human brains work. There's tactical proof. There is companies and the fact that I talk every day with people that I know it's happening. And the solution is do your own diagnosis. Don't let big companies do it. Build your own strategy. Don't let other companies do it. And trust the fundamentals. Okay. So now, I'll take this point of view and I'll show you how to turn it into, quite literally, 1,000 different ideas. Simple one. You take the point of view and then you ask yourself, what format can I share that in? So it could be an example. The loop marketing from HubSpot is an example in that situation. So on LinkedIn, you could post about how you believe that loop marketing from HubSpot is corporate fear-mongering, and you just describe it and talk about it. But it could be a listicle. It could be a story from yourself. It could be a case study. It could be a podcast episode. It could be an interview with someone. It could be literally anything. Yeah? Yeah? So that's level 1. But you can have so much fun. You can create matrices that are way more complicated than that and just add constraints so that you can find cool ideas. So this one, you take the point of view, you take the format, but then you think of where you need to put it, and then you add a constraint. So let's say in 60 seconds. So can I share that point of view, or at least communicate some point, not necessarily the entire thing, in less than 60 seconds on LinkedIn using an example as a format, right? By just doing this, you can find so many ways to say the same thing. And if you're bored with it, that's fine. If your colleagues are bored with it, that's cool. If your customers are bored with it, that's great. If your accountant is bored with it, great. Just keep doing it, because that means it's only starting to enter your customer's brain, right? So those constraints, you can create matrices like this. You can add any dimension to it, but the source of it should be point of views, because they're there to protect your segment from harm. And once you do that, and we share that time and time again, you help them to change their beliefs, slightly but surely. And you move away from informational content marketing that is not working anymore, because Google and all the LLMs are sucking up that traffic. The only thing you can do is make an argument in the philosophical sense of the word. And that's your way to do it, right? Does it make sense? Please don't be afraid to tell me if it doesn't. Don't be scared. Make sense? Okay, I'm nearly done. I think there's 2 left, okay, and then we can have a nap. You can't generate demand for your category. So don't try to. Let me give you an actual example. Actually, I asked this question. Any demand generation marketers here? Hey! You don't do demand generation. So you might do a bit of generation for your product in a category that is in demand, but we're not gods. We can't create demand out of thin air. And a good example of this would be mattresses or any home category products during COVID. I love this graph because it shows how much we have no control over the wheel, the needs of our people. So pre-COVID, you can see normal, then big dip when COVID started to be global, and then boom, shot up in the middle of COVID. Why? Because people were cocooning. They were literally spending so much time at home. The only thing they could think about is, let's buy a new bed, let's get a new mattress, let's get new fucking chairs, let's blah, blah, blah. And if you were hired in March 2020, is one of those companies, you would feel like an absolute rock star. Absolute fucking rock star. Because you're able to almost double the demand for your stuff. All you need to do is capture the demand that is there. And it feels like everything you're trying to do is working. Every marketing experiment, everything, every ad, everything is working so well. You're like, God, I'm so smart. And then you're like, December 2020, January 2021, boom, it starts to decline. And then the normal is actually less than the pre-COVID normal. And then as a demand generation marketer, you're like, I'm not so smart anymore. But it's nothing to do with you. It's just that the global demand that is driven by forces far bigger than all of us combined are driving demand for stuff. And you need to make peace with the fact that you can't control any of that. The only thing you can do is catch it. My friend Tom there, who runs a B2B agency for B2B podcasts, running like podcasts for B2B agencies, for example, does exactly this. He's not reinventing the wheel. There's demand for podcasts done by B2B companies. He's there in the middle of it. It's growing like crazy, not because he's an excellent marketer, he is, but also because the demand is there. That's it. It just has to capture a tiny portion of it. Am I right? Hey-o. So sometimes it's as simple as that. So a couple of questions to ask yourself whether or not your category is in demand. Look at your competitors. Are they thriving or struggling? That's one of the best exercises to do. It's easy to see on LinkedIn people thriving, but then you talk one-on-one, like in events like this, and you're like, oh no, I'm actually doing gardening on the side because like this marketing thing isn't working out. You realize that no one is making money. You're like, shit, are we in a pyramid scheme together? Are we all, what's going on? Customers. I know it sounds stupid, but are there any customers? The number of times I meet startups who are like trying to create a category or demand where there's no direct competitors and there is no actual customers who ever paid money, they just said that it's a good idea, is crazy. So are there actual customers you can talk to who've invested money, time, and or resources into this? In terms of growth, we talk about mattresses and the home category. Is it growing, stagnating, shrinking? You can measure that pretty quickly. Trends, are there global events shaping things? COVID is a big example of that. And then follow the weirdos. That's one of my secrets. I was lucky enough to start a podcast called Everyone Hates Marketers 8 years ago because one of my favorite weirdo had started one. I was like, I'm going to do like him. Then I did cohort-based courses right at the start of COVID when it became sexy. So I managed to get early in a few categories just by following people who are taking big bets and taking some risks. And now everyone and their auntie has a podcast. Even my dad knows what a podcast is. 8 years ago, I remember no one knew. Outside of our little bubble, no one knew what it was. See you later. Okay. I promise, that's the last one. This one, that's the last one. Life is short. So honestly, please do what lights you up. Like, fuck, it's so fucking short. Like, blink and that's it. I don't want to go into cliches, but yeah, I'm an example of this. Like, just 36 years old, I'm not supposed to have been diagnosed with cancer. And it's just the way it is sometimes. Like, who knows what the fuck is going to happen next? So be a bit selfish in that way. If gardening in your spare time lights you up, do more of it. If wild birds coming to your garden is something that you fucking like, just build little houses for them. That's what I did. Just do what lights you up. Be selfish in that way, because life is too short. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's not. It's true, right? It's so fucking true. So even in marketing, even in our craft, we can do things that light us up a bit more. We just need to stay in tune with our heart, really. And the other part is stop trying to fight your own story. I'm French, as you noticed. I used to wonder, how am I going to hide my accent from people? I want to be serious and I want to be, seen as a very serious marketing consultant. And then I stopped trying to fight my fucking story. I'm French, I have a French accent, so be it. As long as I'm understood, I'm okay. And that's an easy example for me, but there's so many of us that have stories that we're trying to hide. Oh, I didn't study marketing, so therefore I don't feel legitimate to be in this field. And just fucking own it, right? Own that story of yours, because the energy that it takes to suppress it and hide it is much higher than the energy you can use to just double down on it. We've launched a little community for marketing business owners recently called The Roost. And one of the things that I love, that lights me up the most, is finding ways to annoy people. Subtly, like not too much, but being aware of our human limitations. And one thing that we've done for this one is every single event, every recording that we post is only available for 9 days. Then it disappears forever. So that's one way to avoid overwhelming choices, because you join a community, you have 400 videos, you're like, fuck, I'm going to watch all of it. You end up watching none. Or you join a community and then the event is there, but the recording will be there, so you don't attend, and then actually you don't watch the recording. So like finding those little ways to annoy people, but not to piss them off, but just to play on those needs and this irrational stuff. And like there's nothing that lights me up more than emails like this. The passive aggressive feedback, this makes it really hard to keep up, and it's very frustrating. It feels like an unnecessary annoying mechanic. And then she says positives, one sentence, and then okay, I know we're supposed to start with the positive, but this 9-day limit really drives me mad. And then smiley face. And honestly, 10 years ago, I would have been petrified about feedback like that. But nowadays, I love this because I know some people love the 9-day limit because it makes them act. Some of them will complain, but guess what? She's been a member for a while and she's fine, right? So just do what lights you up. If you like to annoy people for fun, try to find ways to do that in your work as well. As I said, I'm going to take question after this last slide, which is a way to finish the talk in saying that marketing saved my life, because this leaflet, I, for some reason, remembered it when I had the first symptoms. And I remember seeing it in the back of toilet paper or something like that. And it wasn't front of mind, but it was just something that told me, okay, changes in bowel movement is actually a red flag. I need to take it way more seriously. I have a daughter, I can't fucking, I can't play anymore. So actually marketing, I think, saved my life because they diagnosed it so early. And to show also the power of just the craft that we do is actually pretty important if you work on stuff like that. So please look after yourself, those specific symptoms. This type of cancer is growing in every single age group across every single country. And it's down to microplastics, pesticides, processed food. So you probably don't have cancer, never will. But just in case you have these symptoms, to go get checked. It doesn't cost anything if you're in Europe. Woo! So thank you so much, and let's drink.